She was the Scream Queen, the beautiful ghoul who kept horror fans at the edge of their seats for decades. This gorgeous and voluptuous lady knew just how to keep her fans coming back for more, and as a result of this, she made a name for herself as one of the most celebrated actresses in British horror cinema. But beyond the accomplishments and behind the scenes was a woman the world barely knew. From her dislike for watching horror films to her horrific real-life experiences, Ingrid Pitt's story will leave you wondering if you really knew her. Surviving the Nazis. Ingrid spent the most part of her life bringing horror stories to life, but what a lot of people don't know is that this actress was most likely good at depicting horror because she went through horrific experiences as a child. In a 2006 interview, she told with the New Zealand Herald this, "I think it's very amazing that I do horror films when I had this awful childhood, but maybe that's why I'm good at it." It all started on the 21st of November 1937 in Poland, where Ingrid was born in the midst of chaos. Over the years, there have been speculations that her real name was Ingushka Petrov, a name she later changed for personal reasons. Her father, who was German, and her mother, who was a Polish Jew, were both set to raise their children when life took an unexpected and horrific turn. A few years after Ingrid was born, tragedy struck. The Nazis picked up her family, and before she knew what was happening, Ingrid was separated from her father and her older sister. She had no idea where her father and sister were taken to, but was taken to the Stutthof concentration camp with her mother, where she came face to face with a real-life horror experience. Ingrid was just 5 years old at the time. One can only how traumatic this experience was. She saw little girls being maltreated and sexually assaulted. Ingrid also witnessed the death of her own mother's best friend. All these horrific things were happening right in front of her, but all she could do was to hope and pray that fate had a better plan and that sometime in the near future all these would come to an end. Sadly, the torture didn't end as soon as she hoped. Her and her mother were held there for the next 3 years with no hopes of returning to their normal lives. However, it was in the midst of this dark reality that she began to dream of a better life. She would often lay in the straw, imagining what her life would look like if she was someone else. There was something inside of her that made her believe that she was going to experience life through a different lens. Perhaps a life that was not marked by the confines and terrors of a concentration camp. From dream to reality. After 3 long and hard years, Ingrid and her mother left the camp after the war and began searching for her father and sister. Unfortunately, their hopes of reuniting the family dashed when her father was found. He had become a shadow of himself, and he passed away shortly after. During that period, Ingrid started nursing dreams of becoming an actress, and she decided to pursue this passion fiercely. She was said to have gotten involved in theater productions before she started her screen career. She became a well-known actress on the East Berlin stage, and the time she spent performing in theater enabled her to hone her skills before she started appearing in films. She spent the most part of the mid-1960s appearing in Spanish films. However, her roles were mostly uncredited. Interestingly, Ingrid could not speak Spanish at the time, but still found a way to immerse herself in the industry with the hopes of going international one day. Thankfully, her efforts paid off and things started looking up for her when she landed a supporting role in the 1968 film Where Eagles Dare. In this film, she portrayed the role of Agent Heidi, and she appeared alongside Richard Burton and Clint Eastwood. This was the role that led to her being noticed by the executives of Hammer Film Productions. They knew that her Eastern European and glamorous looks combined with her talent was a recipe for success. Shortly after, she was given the role of vampiress Mircalla and was the beginning of a notable career in the horror genre, becoming the Queen of Horror. Ingrid's journey into the world of horror began in the late 1960s and early 1970s, an era marked by the resurgence of Gothic horror films. With her striking beauty, commanding screen presence, and a voice that could send shivers down your spine, Ingrid quickly became a sensation in the genre. It all started with her breakout role in The Vampire Lovers in 1970, a film that not only showcased her acting prowess but also solidified her status as a horror icon. As the enigmatic bloodsucker, Ingrid brought a seductive allure to the screen, redefining the image of female vampires in the process. But it wasn't just about the fangs and the supernatural. Ingrid Pitt had a way of infusing her characters with depth and complexity. In Countess Dracula, 1971, she portrayed the notorious Countess Elizabeth Bathory, blending horror with historical drama. The film wasn't just a showcase of her ability to instill fear, it was a masterclass in the art of combining terror with a touch of tragic humanity. Ingrid's reign as the Queen of Horror continued with films like The House That Dripped Blood, still in 1971, and The Wicker Man, 1973, where her performances left an indelible mark on the minds of horror enthusiasts. It wasn't just about the scares, it was about the intensity she brought to every role, making her characters memorable and iconic in the annals of horror history. Off-screen, Ingrid Pitt became a beloved figure at horror conventions and fan events. Her genuine love for the genre and her fans endeared her to a loyal following. It wasn't just about the roles she played, it was about the connection she forged with those who reveled in the thrill of a good horror tale. As the Queen of Horror, Ingrid Pitt's legacy lives on. Her impact on the genre transcends the screen, echoing through the corridors of cinematic history. In the darkened theaters of the past and the living rooms of devoted fans, Ingrid's presence endures, a testament to the enduring allure of horror and the woman who reigned as its beloved queen. She authored several books. Beyond the eerie glow of the silver screen, Ingrid Pitt ventured into the world of words, leaving her mark as not just the Queen of Horror on film, but also as a talented author. The same voice that sent shivers down spines now weaving tales on the pages of books. Ingrid's literary journey took flight with a series of books that reflected her deep passion for storytelling. Among her notable works is Life's a Scream, 1986, a memoir that peeled back the curtain on her life, offering readers a glimpse into the highs, lows, and thrills of her journey in the film industry. It wasn't just a recounting of her experiences, it was a narrative that mirrored the spirited, fearless woman behind the character she portrayed. In addition to her memoir, Ingrid explored the realms of fiction. Cuckoo Run in 1985 and The Bedside Companion for Vampire Lovers, 1973, co-authored with David J. Skal, showcased her versatility as a storyteller. The former, a suspenseful novel, demonstrated her ability to craft narratives that extended beyond the horror genre, while the latter delved into the lore and allure of vampires, a subject close to her heart. Ingrid Pitt wasn't content with merely entertaining, she aimed to share her love for the macabre and mysterious. Her books became a bridge between her and her fans, allowing them to delve deeper into the mind of the woman who had become an icon of horror. As an author, Ingrid's voice resonated with the same charisma that made her a beloved figure on screen. Her words painted vivid landscapes of terror, romance, and suspense, inviting readers to step into the realms she conjured with her pen.
September 26, 2008, the world was on the brink of a financial meltdown. Barack Obama and John McCain were in the heat of a historic presidential race, and social media was just beginning to change the way we live and interact. But in a quiet corner of Westport, Connecticut, an era was coming to an end. A man who had captivated the hearts of millions on the silver screen took his final bow. Paul Newman, an icon of American cinema, passed away, leaving behind a legacy that transcended film, philanthropy, and even salad dressing. We call him the Renaissance man of Hollywood. Driven by a relentless pursuit of excellence, Newman was more than just a pretty face. He was a force that shaped the movie industry and left an indelible mark on American culture. But what if we could travel back to the 1950s? Hollywood was the epicenter of glamour and fame, and a young Paul Newman was just stepping into the limelight. His blue eyes and undeniable talent quickly made him a household name. Yet, as we all know, fame comes at a price. The man who seemed to have it all was also a man of complexities and contradictions. To reignite the economy of a struggling film industry, studios were investing heavily in new talent and blockbuster movies. The stakes were high and the pressure was on. But even amidst the glitz and glamour, Newman stood out, not just for his roles, but for his choices. Choices that would influence not only his career, but also the lives of those closest to him. It was during these defining moments that something extraordinary began to unfold. Not on the red carpets or the award shows, but in the intimate spaces of Newman's life. Joanne Woodward, his wife of 50 years, was his rock, his confidant, and the keeper of secrets that the world has been eager to know. But who exactly is Joanne Woodward? Well, she's not just the woman behind the man. She's a formidable actress in her own right, an enigma who has chosen to remain silent about their life together. Until now. Over the past 15 years since Newman's passing, speculation and curiosity have only grown. The world has been waiting, and Joanne Woodward is finally ready to break her silence. But what she reveals might just change everything we thought we knew about Paul Newman, the man, the myth, the legend. Paul Newman was not just another Hollywood star, he was an institution. Born on January 26, 1925, in Shaker Heights, Ohio, Newman served in the Navy during World War II before attending Kenyon College. He later studied at the Yale School of Drama and honed his craft at the famed Actors Studio in New York City. His breakthrough came with the 1956 film Somebody Up There Likes Me, where he portrayed boxer Rocky Graziano. The film was a commercial and critical success, and Newman was on his way to becoming a household name. But what set him apart from other leading men of his era? For starters, his versatility. Newman wasn't confined to a single genre or typecast into repetitive roles. From the anti-heroes of Cool Hand Luke and Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, to the flawed characters in The Hustler and Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, Newman showcased a range that was both broad and deep. He could make you laugh, cry, and think, all in the span of a single film. This versatility didn't just make him a favorite among audiences, it also earned him accolades from his peers and critics alike. Over his career, Newman received 10 Academy Award nominations, winning the Best Actor award for his role in The Color of Money. However, Newman's influence on the movie industry extended beyond his on-screen performances. He was one of the early proponents of method acting, a technique that emphasizes emotional authenticity over theatricality. This approach revolutionized acting in Hollywood, influencing a new generation of actors who sought to bring depth and realism to their performances. Newman's commitment to his craft was so intense that he even took up race car driving to authentically portray the character in Winning, a passion he continued for the rest of his life. But Newman's impact wasn't limited to the artistic side of filmmaking. He was also a savvy businessman. In 1982, he co-founded Newman's Own, a food company that donates all post-tax profits to charity. The brand was an extension of his personality, authentic, unpretentious, and socially conscious. It also set a precedent for celebrity-branded products, demonstrating that stars could leverage their fame for philanthropic causes. Moreover, Newman was instrumental in changing the way Hollywood deals with contracts and revenue sharing. He was among the first actors to negotiate a percentage of the gross profits for his films, a move that shifted the power dynamics in Hollywood, giving artists a stake in the financial success of their projects. This not only increased his earnings, but also encouraged him to take roles in risky, unconventional films that might not have been made otherwise. The result was a body of work that was both commercially successful and critically acclaimed, a rare feat in the entertainment industry. Newman's influence also extended to political activism. A vocal supporter of civil rights and anti-war movements, he used his platform to advocate for social change. Unlike many celebrities who shy away from taking a stand, Newman was unapologetically outspoken. His activism wasn't just for show, it was an integral part of who he was, both as an artist and as a human being. Paul Newman was a multifaceted individual, who left an indelible mark on American cinema and culture. His contributions were not confined to the roles he portrayed on screen. They permeated every aspect of the film industry, from acting techniques and contract negotiations to social activism and philanthropy. He was a man ahead of his time, a true legend whose impact is still felt today. And while the world may remember him as a movie star, those who knew him personally would argue that he was so much more. But to truly understand the man, we must also explore his life off the screen, a life that was equally compelling and complex. Paul Newman was not just a Hollywood icon, he was a devoted husband and father, married to actress Joanne Woodward for 50 years until his death in 2008. Their union was one of the most enduring in an industry known for fleeting relationships. They first met while working on the Broadway production of Picnic in 1953. Newman was married at the time, but after his divorce, he and Woodward wed on January 29, 1958. Their marriage was a partnership in every sense, both professionally and personally. Newman had 6 children, 3 from his first marriage to Jackie Witt, Scott, Susan, and Stephanie, and 3 with Woodward, Eleanor Nell, Melissa Lissy, and Claire Klee. Newman was deeply involved in his children's lives, often taking them along on film sets and involving them in his various business and philanthropic ventures. His son Scott Newman, who tragically died from a drug overdose in 1978, inspired him to establish the Scott Newman Center for Drug Abuse Prevention. The impact of Newman's career on his family was profound but balanced. Despite his busy schedule and the demands of stardom, he prioritized his family. He often chose roles that would not require him to be away from home for extended periods. When he did have to travel for work, the family would often accompany him. Newman and Woodward also made a conscious effort to shield their children from the glare of the Hollywood spotlight, raising them far from Los Angeles in Westport, Connecticut. Newman's role as a family man extended to his professional family as well. He was known for his loyalty and generosity to co-stars and crew members. Stories abound of Newman's acts of kindness on set, from quietly arranging to cover the medical bills for a crew member's sick child to ensuring that extras were well fed and comfortable. His approach to family and relationships was grounded in his own upbringing. Born to a Jewish father and a Christian mother, Newman was raised in a religiously diverse household that emphasized tolerance and open-mindedness. These values were evident in his own family life, where he encouraged his children to think critically and act compassionately. But Newman's commitment to family wasn't without its challenges. The loss of his son Scott was a devastating blow that had a profound impact on him. It was a tragedy that led him to question his own role as a father and propelled him into activism to prevent drug abuse. The Scott Newman Center, founded in 1980, has since provided educational resources and support to thousands of families dealing with substance abuse. Paul Newman was a family man in the truest sense. His devotion to his wife and children was unwavering, even as he juggled the demands of a high-profile career. His approach to parenting was hands-on, involved, and deeply influenced by his own values and upbringing. And while he faced personal tragedies, he used them as a catalyst for positive change, both within his family and in the broader community. As we peel back the layers of Newman's life, it becomes increasingly clear that his family was not just a footnote to his career, but a defining aspect of who he was. But to fully understand the man, we must also look at his broader contributions to society, contributions that went beyond the roles he played on screen and the family he raised. Stay tuned as we explore Paul Newman, the philanthropist. Paul Newman was not just a man of the screen, he was a man of action, particularly when it came to philanthropy. His charitable endeavors began long before it became a trend in Hollywood. Newman was deeply committed to social justice, children's welfare, and health-related causes, among others. His philanthropic journey can be traced back to his early years in the industry, but it was in 1982 that he took a significant step by launching Newman's Own, a food company that donates all post-tax profits to charity. Newman's Own started as a lark, with Newman mixing homemade salad dressing in a bathtub, but what began as a joke between friends soon turned into a multi-million-dollar enterprise. As of 2020, Newman's Own had donated more than $550 million to various charitable organizations worldwide. The company's range of products has expanded to include pasta sauce, lemonade, popcorn, and even pet food, each contributing to the ever-growing philanthropic legacy of Paul Newman. But Newman's philanthropy wasn't just about writing checks. He was hands-on in his approach to giving. In 1988, he co-founded the Hole in the Wall Gang Camp in Ashford, Connecticut, a summer camp for children with serious illnesses. The camp, named after the gang in Newman's film Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, provides a free camping experience for more than 20,000 kids each year. The success of the original camp led to the establishment of additional hole-in-the-wall camps in several countries, including Ireland, Israel, and France. Newman's charitable work was deeply influenced by his personal life. The loss of his son Scott to drug overdose not only led him to establish the Scott Newman Center, but also made him more empathetic to the struggles faced by families dealing with health crises. His wife, Joanne Woodward, who was also involved in various charitable activities, often collaborated with him on projects, making philanthropy a family affair. Newman was also politically active, using his fame to raise awareness about various issues, including nuclear disarmament and civil rights. He was a vocal critic of the Vietnam War and supported Eugene McCarthy's anti-war candidacy in the 1968 presidential elections. His political activism often intersected with his philanthropic work, providing a holistic view of the man who was as concerned with global issues as he was with individual well-being. His philanthropic efforts earned him numerous awards, including the Jean Hersholt Humanitarian Award at the Oscars in 1994. But for Newman, the real reward was the impact he could make. He once said, "I want to acknowledge luck, the benevolence of it in my life, and the brutality of it in the lives of others." Paul Newman's philanthropy was not an afterthought or a side project. It was an integral part of his life and legacy. He leveraged his fame and fortune to make a tangible difference in the lives of thousands, if not millions, of people. His approach to giving was hands-on, thoughtful, and deeply influenced by his own experiences and values. But what about the aspects of his life that remained hidden from public view? What secrets did this seemingly open book of a man keep? Stay tuned as we uncover unknown facts and hidden secrets about Paul Newman. Paul Newman, a man who seemed to live his life like an open book, had layers that many never got to see. While he was known for his acting prowess, philanthropy, and family values, there were aspects of his life that remained shrouded in mystery until recently. These hidden facets not only add depth to our understanding of Newman, but also reveal the complexities that often accompany fame. One of the lesser-known facts about Newman was his passion for auto racing. It wasn't just a hobby, it was a serious endeavor. Newman first became interested in motorsports while training at the Watkins Glen Racing School for the film Winning in 1969. This newfound passion was not just a fleeting interest. He went on to become a competitive racer. In 1979, he even finished second in the 24 Hours of Le Mans, one of the most prestigious automobile races in the world. His racing career was not something he flaunted, but was a significant part of his life, providing him an escape from the pressures of Hollywood. Another surprising aspect was his involvement in the world of academia. Newman funded programs and scholarships at several educational institutions, including a $10 million endowment to his alma mater, Kenyon College, to establish a scholarship fund. He also funded the creation of a drama department at the college, allowing future generations to explore the arts, a subject close to his heart. Newman was also a man of contradictions. While he was a vocal advocate for civil rights and social justice, he was intensely private about his political affiliations in his later years. He was a registered Democrat and even made the Nixon administration's enemies list, a fact he was particularly proud of. However, he chose to keep his political beliefs increasingly private as he aged, focusing more on actionable philanthropy rather than public political discourse. His culinary skills were another well-kept secret. While the world got to taste his salad dressings and sauces through Newman's own, few knew that he was an excellent cook. Friends and family often spoke of his love for experimenting in the kitchen, a trait that made its way into his business ventures. Then, there's the mystery surrounding some of his unreleased work. Newman directed several episodes of a television adaptation of The Shadow, a popular radio show character, but the series was never released. The reasons remain unclear, adding another layer of intrigue to his already multifaceted life. Joanne Woodward, Newman's wife, has been instrumental in revealing some of these lesser-known aspects of his life. Her recent decision to break her silence has not only shed light on Newman as a person, but also deepened our understanding of the man behind the legend. What she reveals next will give us an even more intimate look into their life together, a love story that became iconic in its own right. Paul Newman and Joanne Woodward's love story is the stuff of legends, a tale that captivated not just Hollywood, but the world. Their relationship was a beacon of stability in an industry known for its fleeting romances and tumultuous marriages. But what made their love story truly iconic was the depth of their connection, which went beyond the glitz and glamour of the silver screen. They first met while working on the Broadway production of Picnic in 1953. Newman was still married to his first wife, Jackie Witt, at the time, but the chemistry between him and Woodward was undeniable. After his divorce was finalized, Newman and Woodward married in 1958, a union that would last for 50 years until his death in 2008. Their marriage was not without its challenges, but what set them apart was their commitment to each other. Newman once famously said, "I have steak at home, why go out for hamburger?" This quip encapsulated his views on fidelity and his dedication to his marriage. Woodward, for her part, was not just a supportive spouse, but also an accomplished actress in her own right, winning an Academy Award for her role in The Three Faces of Eve in 1957. The couple often collaborated professionally, starring in several films together, including The Long Hot Summer and Mr. and Mrs. Bridge. These collaborations were not just successful ventures, but also a testament to their incredible on-screen chemistry, which was a reflection of their real-life love and respect for each other. They shared a love for philanthropy and activism, often using their platform to advocate for various social causes. Whether it was civil rights, anti-drug campaigns, or funding for the arts, Newman and Woodward were always at the forefront, their actions speaking louder than words. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. Newman's love for auto racing was a source of worry for Woodward, who feared for his safety. Despite her concerns, she supported his passion, understanding that it was an integral part of who he was. This mutual respect and understanding were the cornerstones of their relationship. Woodward was Newman's rock, especially during the final years of his life when he battled lung cancer. She was by his side, providing emotional support that only a lifelong partner could offer. Her recent revelations have given us a glimpse into their private life, shedding light on the depth of their love and the strength of their partnership. Their love story remains an enduring legacy, a testament to a relationship built on mutual respect, shared values, and an unbreakable bond. As Woodward finally breaks her silence, we are reminded of the extraordinary love they had, a love that continues to inspire and captivate. Paul Newman's final years were a period of reflection, courage, and enduring love. Diagnosed with lung cancer in 2008, Newman faced his illness with the same tenacity and grace that had defined his life. Joanne Woodward, his wife of 50 years, was his steadfast companion during this challenging time, providing emotional and physical support that went beyond the duties of a spouse. Newman was no stranger to adversity, having served in the Pacific Theater during World War II and navigated the ups and downs of Hollywood. However, his battle with cancer was a different kind of challenge, one that required not just physical resilience, but also emotional strength. Woodward was his anchor during this period, a role she embraced fully despite her own emotional turmoil. Newman's illness did not deter him from his philanthropic efforts. Even while undergoing treatment, he remained involved in Newman's own foundation, the charitable organization he founded. The foundation, known for donating all its post-tax profits to various charities, continued to be a significant focus in his life. His commitment to philanthropy was not just a hobby, but a lifelong mission, one that he pursued until his final days. Woodward, who had always been an integral part of Newman's charitable endeavors, took on an even more active role during this period. She helped manage the foundation's activities and ensured that its mission of donating to those in need continued unabated. Her involvement was not just a testament to her own charitable spirit, but also a tribute to her husband's legacy. Newman passed away on September 26, 2008, but not before leaving an indelible mark on the world. His death was not just a loss for the film industry, but also a personal tragedy for Woodward. She lost a husband, a friend, and a lifelong companion. Yet, even in her grief, she found the strength to honor his memory by continuing their shared philanthropic efforts. In interviews following his death, Woodward has often spoken about Newman's humility and his discomfort with the term legacy. For him, the real legacy was not the awards or the accolades, but the lives he had touched through his work and philanthropy. This perspective offers a glimpse into the man he was, a man defined not by his fame, but by his actions. Woodward's role during Newman's final years was not just that of a caregiver, but also of a guardian of his legacy. She ensured that his final days were spent in a manner consistent with the life he had lived, surrounded by loved ones and committed to causes he believed in. Her recent revelations about this period provide a new layer of understanding about Newman, offering insights into his character, his relationship with Woodward, and the values that guided his life. After years of maintaining a dignified silence, Joanne Woodward finally decided to speak publicly about her late husband, Paul Newman, and their life together. In a rare interview with Vanity Fair in 2013, she opened up about the complexities of being married to a Hollywood icon and the emotional journey they undertook during his final years battling lung cancer. Paul never liked the idea of being put on a pedestal. He always said, "If you don't have enemies, you don't have character," Woodward recounted. This humility, she explained, was one of the many qualities that made him not just a great actor, but also a remarkable human being. Woodward also revealed some lesser-known aspects of Newman's life, including his passion for auto racing, a hobby he took up in the 1970s. People often ask me if I was worried about him racing, but Paul was meticulous. He approached racing like he approached his roles, with full dedication and no shortcuts, she said. One of the most touching moments of the interview was when Woodward spoke about Newman's final days. He was always a fighter, and he fought till the end. Even when he was sick, he would tell me, "Joanne, we've had a good run. Let's not make this a sad affair," she recalled. This stoicism, according to Woodward, made it easier for the family to cope with the emotional weight of his illness. Woodward also touched upon the philanthropic legacy that Newman left behind. Paul was always uncomfortable with the idea that his foundation would be his legacy. He used to say, "If all people remember me for is salad dressing, then I've failed," she shared. This sentiment encapsulates the essence of Newman's character, a man more concerned with the impact he could make on others than with how he would be remembered. In the same interview, Woodward also spoke about the Newman's own foundation and her role in it after her husband's passing. "Paul and I always believed in giving back. After he was gone, I felt it was my responsibility to continue what we started together. It's what he would have wanted," she stated. The revelations from Woodward not only offer a deeper understanding of Paul Newman as a husband, father, and philanthropist, but also shed light on the enduring love story that defined both of their lives. "We were soulmates, in every sense of the word, and I think that's the greatest legacy anyone can ask for," Woodward concluded. Her words serve as a poignant reminder of the man behind the legend, a man whose life was as multifaceted as the roles he portrayed on screen. Through her candid reflections, Joanne Woodward has given us a unique window into the life of Paul Newman, allowing us to appreciate the depth of his character and the sincerity of his actions.
In the early 1940s, Ava Gardner went from being a poor teenager from Grabtown to being one of the most desired stars in Hollywood. While this transformation changed her financial status, fame came with its challenges. From navigating Hollywood as a young, attractive woman to having romantic relationships with some of the most attractive men in Hollywood, Ava Gardner lived an interesting life. In the late 1980s, she decided to let the world know some of her deepest, darkest secrets by writing a memoir. You are about to unveil some of the shocking revelations she penned down in her memoir. The Calm Before the Storm. Like many other Hollywood stars, Ava Gardner came from humble beginnings. Several years before the spotlight shone on her, Ava Gardner was living a normal life in the rural community of Grabtown. Born on Christmas Eve in 1922, Ava Gardner was the seventh child of Jonas and Mary Gardner. Right from childhood, Ava was a bright young girl, and greatness was written all over her. She spent her early years surrounded by her siblings and parents as they lived in a farmhouse. She grew up enveloped by the enchanting landscapes of the rural South, where cotton fields stretched as far as the eye could see, and the sunsets painted the sky in hues of gold and crimson. Around their house, there were acres of land where her parents cultivated cotton in order to earn a living. Truth is, Ava's parents were hardworking people, and they did all they could to provide for their children, but tragedy soon struck and frustrated their efforts. When Ava turned 3, her family experienced something that shook the foundation of their close-knit family. It was said that a fire erupted and burnt down their barn and cotton gin to the ground. It was a terrible experience that completely changed their lives. The tragedy left their finances in shambles, and Ava's family had to start again from scratch. Her family would later be relocated to Brogden, where her parents took on odd jobs in order to survive. With the dawn of the Great Depression, things got worse for the family, but through it all, her parents insisted on Ava and her sisters getting basic education. After the unfortunate death of her father in 1938, Ava and her family were left to fend for themselves. Somehow, growing up in these difficult situations made Ava Gardner even more resilient. She would later find herself gravitating towards the world of showbiz. Interestingly, her mother saw that she had star potential right from the start and encouraged her to step into Hollywood when the opportunity presented itself. Ava Gardner was still very young when she was discovered. Sure, she was excited about being a Hollywood star, but nothing prepared her for the shocking events that would unfold. Entering the tumultuous world of Hollywood, it was like a dream come true when Ava Gardner was selected to be one of MGM's young stars. Little did this 18-year-old know that fame and influence came at a cost. In the bustling streets of New York City, a star was about to be born, and her name was Ava Gardner. Her journey to Hollywood stardom was set in motion by a series of serendipitous events and the discovery of her radiant beauty. As fate would have it, one fateful day, her elder sister's husband, who was a portrait photographer, thought it would be wise to take pictures of young Ava Gardner and display them in his studio. Ava Gardner's beauty and natural charisma were evident from the moment she stepped in front of Larry Tarr's camera. Recognizing her potential, Tarr wasted no time and took several captivating portraits of the young beauty. Larry Tarr was so impressed by Ava's photographs that he displayed them in the window of his photography studio. Little did he know that these very pictures would become the catalyst for Ava's journey to stardom. One of those very portraits caught the eye of a prominent talent agent, who was immediately struck by Ava's stunning features and undeniable allure. This agent wasted no time in reaching out to Ava and offering her an opportunity that would change her life forever. The name of this influential talent agent was Al Altman. He saw in Ava Gardner the potential for greatness and saw to it that her talent was recognized by the right people in the entertainment industry. It wasn't long before Ava's unique beauty and promising star quality caught the attention of none other than MGM Studios, one of Hollywood's most prestigious film studios. MGM was determined to turn this diamond in the rough into a shining star on the silver screen. She may not have aced her first test in the studio, but they believed that they could train her and turn her into a star. With a contract in hand, Ava Gardner bid farewell to her life in New York and embarked on a new chapter in Hollywood. It was 1941 when she made her debut in a small role in the film Babes on Broadway, which was just the beginning of her remarkable career. Her looks were undeniably instrumental in opening doors for her in Hollywood. With her piercing green eyes, cascading brunette locks, and radiant smile that could light up the darkest room, she possessed a kind of beauty that was simply irresistible. But it wasn't just her beauty that set her apart. Ava had a presence and confidence that demanded attention, making her a standout among the aspiring starlets of the time. As she honed her acting skills and gained more experience, critics and audiences alike couldn't help but notice the raw talent that lay beneath her beautiful exterior. She had a unique ability to connect with her characters and bring them to life on the screen. As the years went by, Ava Gardner's star continued to rise, and she went on to deliver unforgettable performances in iconic films like The Killers, Mogambo, and The Barefoot Contessa, making her one of the brightest stars in Hollywood. As expected, her glory days in Hollywood came with a lot of attention from men. She was one of the most desired actresses of her time, and a lot of influential men wanted to be with her. But after several years of fame and influence, Ava Gardner found herself in a dark place in the late 1980s. The lights had dimmed and the applause had faded. She was broke, alone, and usually drowning in alcohol. This was the period that she made up her mind to write a memoir, revealing some of her deepest, darkest secrets. Her shocking revelations about Mickey Rooney. I either write the book or sell the jewels, and I'm kinda sentimental about the jewels. Ava Gardner said this as she explained why she made up her mind to write a book. She desperately needed to get out of the financial situation she was in, and she knew without a shadow of a doubt that a memoir would grab the attention of several people and sell like crazy. As soon as her mind was made up, she called the renowned British journalist Peter Evans to ghostwrite a book filled with her deathbed confessions. At the very top of her confession list was the story of her relationship and marriage to none other than Mickey Rooney. Ava Gardner was only 19 years old when she met Mickey Rooney on the MGM set. The young Mike Rooney was filming a comedic musical number when Ava Gardner stepped in. Mickey was completely mesmerized by her beauty, and he could not resist her. Soon after, they fell in love and got married. Ava revealed that she was innocent and still a virgin when she married Mickey Rooney. In her memoir, she stated that Mike Rooney was extremely sexually attracted to her and that she had no idea that he was a cheater. In her words, "I still didn't know he was the biggest wolf on the lot. He'd screw anything that moved." The two youngsters seemed like the it couple, but their marriage was not as it seemed on the surface. In her memoir, Ava Gardner made shocking revelations about her tumultuous relationship with Mike Rooney. According to her, Her marriage to Mickey Rooney would become a tumultuous affair, riddled with betrayal and heartache. After their wedding, he began to unleash the cheater in him. She recalled a particular incident that took place at one of the lowest moments of her life. She had fallen ill and was hospitalized after an appendectomy. To her greatest surprise, Mike Rooney didn't hesitate to cheat on her. Even though Ava was recovering from an appendectomy in the hospital, Mickey Rooney's wandering eye knew no bounds. In a stunning display of audacity, he chose to cheat on his stunning wife right in their marital bed. As Ava Gardner lay in the hospital, weakened from the surgery, she never expected her husband's disloyalty to strike so close to home. The betrayal in her most vulnerable moment was proof of Rooney's reckless behavior all through their marriage. Known for his insatiable appetite for women, Mickey Rooney seemed to move from one conquest to another with ease. According to Ava, he went through the ladies like a hot knife through fudge, indicating the extent of his infidelity. Through her candid statement, Ava Gardner shed light on the painful reality of her marriage, unveiling the heartache she endured as her husband's eyes wandered all through their marriage. Through it all, they maintained an image of a perfect couple on the outside, until their marriage came crumbling down in May 1943, a year later. Sadly, her tumultuous first marriage was only the beginning of a series of romantic relationships that would affect Ava Gardner in ways she never imagined. She never loved Howard Hughes. After her first marriage came to an end, the actress got into a relationship with Howard Hughes. She had genuinely given her heart to Mike Rooney, but she couldn't say the same for Howard Hughes. In her memoir, she revealed that she never loved Howard. She made it clear that she was appreciative of what he did for her mother, but she didn't like certain things about him. When her mother was dying, Howard paid for her medical care. This was a reflection of his kind heart, but there were some things about him that she just couldn't shake off. In her memoir, she alleged that Howard had prejudiced views and biased attitudes. In her words, Howard wouldn't piss on a black man to put him out if he was on fire. As surprising as this revelation was, Ava Gardner was just getting started. Her next revelation was about Artie Shaw, her second husband. She called Artie Shaw a bully. Her career was beginning to take off in the mid-1940s, and everything seemed to be going well. Then she met Artie Shaw. He seemed like the perfect man, but time would prove otherwise. As fate would have it, Ava's introduction to Artie came through a mutual friend, actress Frances Heflin, and it was an encounter that sparked a whirlwind romance. Artie had just returned from the Second World War, and he was riding the waves of fame as a celebrated band leader and composer. When they met, they looked like a match made in heaven. With his intelligence and charisma, Ava fell head over heels for him in no time. Their love blossomed, and after several months of dating, Ava took the leap and moved in with Artie. On a serene October day in 1945, the couple exchanged vows in a small ceremony at their Beverly Hills abode. Ava was 22 at the time, while Artie was 35 years old. Their age gap seemed to not be a problem, and their love certainly looked beautiful on the outside. Unfortunately, the fairy tale took a bitter turn once the confetti settled. Despite a longer courtship and living together before tying the knot, their marital bliss was short-lived, and the relationship began to unravel after the wedding bells had chimed. In the pages of her memoir, Ava Gardner would later lift the curtain on the truth behind her turbulent marriage. The Artie Shaw she thought she knew was not the man he appeared to be. Ava revealed that beneath Shaw's suave exterior lay a different side, a kind of bully who constantly belittled her, chipping away at her confidence and happiness. In her words, he was another kind of bully. He was always putting me down. The revelation in her memoir was a shocking twist in the tale of their love story, unveiling a darker reality behind the glamorous facade of Hollywood's golden couple. Ava Gardner's revelation about Artie Shaw certainly came as a shock to a lot of people who thought their marriage was flawless, but what was even more surprising was what she did as a result of the pain that Artie Shaw put her through. She took an IQ test. Within the pages of her memoir, Ava Gardner would unveil something that she did while she was married to Artie Shaw. Despite the success she had amassed in Hollywood, Ava claimed that she found herself grappling with feelings of intellectual inadequacy when she was married to Artie Shaw. She claimed that she was so unhappy that she found herself indulging in vices. According to her, She was smoking 3 packs of Winston's a day and getting drunk constantly while she was married to Artie Shaw. In her words, "He had me convinced that I was completely stupid. I didn't have an enormous IQ, but I did have a high one." In her memoir, she revealed that her then-husband, Artie Shaw, said and did things that made her doubt herself. Ava felt intellectually overshadowed by Shaw's brilliance, which left her yearning for a way to measure her own intelligence. In search of validation, she decided to take an IQ test. The IQ test became a pivotal moment in Ava's life, as it revealed that her insecurities were unfounded. Her results indicated a high score, proving that she was more than just a woman with good looks. She possessed intelligence and wit that could rival the best. The revelation of her high IQ score was both empowering and liberating for Ava. After seeing the test result, her self-doubt was finally put to rest. The couple later got divorced on the 25th of October 1946. She claimed that Artie dumped her 1 week after their first anniversary for another woman. However, the end of her marriage to Artie Shaw would lead her to a man that she considered the love of her life, finding true love and a secret affair. When Frank Sinatra laid his eyes on Ava Gardner, he knew then and there that he wanted her for himself, but he was married at the time. Although he ended up leaving his wife for her, Ava Gardner revealed that she was unfaithful to Frank Sinatra. In the late 1940s, Ava Gardner's career was on the rise. She was making waves for her role in high-profile movies like The Hucksters and The Great Sinner. This was the period that she began to fall in love with renowned singer and actor Frank Sinatra. Ava and Frank Sinatra initially met while she was still married to her first husband, but nothing transpired between them until they met again in a party in 1949. Frank was still married to Grace Sinatra at the time, but their marriage was reportedly in shambles. It was said that Ava and Frank could not stay away from each other, so they began a secret love affair. They tried to be discreet, but the world soon found out about it. In her memoir, she said Frank Sinatra knew that it was true love on the first date. This was how their first date went. In the late-night hours, as they embarked on a drunken drive from Palm Springs to Indio, an adventure unfolded that solidified their bond. Armed with a pair of .38s kept in his glove compartment, the chairman and his beloved companion playfully shot out streetlights and store windows, leaving behind a trail of unforgettable memories. Frank was in the process of divorcing his wife at the time, but as soon as the divorce was final, he and Ava tied the knot in 1951. Ava was in her late 20s at the time, and Frank was in his mid-50s. Their love was said to be electrifying at the start, but things soon changed. In her memoir, she revealed that they started having problems during their courtship. From the outset, their courtship seemed like a tempestuous whirlwind, marked by fiery encounters and bouts of boozing and fighting. While their passionate connection drew them together, it also led them down a path filled with turbulence and emotional storms. Ava also revealed that she got pregnant twice when she was with Frank Sinatra, and she aborted both times. These heart-wrenching choices made amidst the strains of their relationship left an indelible mark on both of their lives. As the years passed, the fervor that once brought them together couldn't save them from their own inner demons. The same intensity that sparked their romance seemed to fuel their conflicts, leading to a marriage that mirrored the turbulence of their courtship. Their union became plagued by public dispute and chaos that filled the tabloids. Shockingly, one of Ava Gardner's deathbed revelations was about her secret affair with Robert Mitchum. She revealed that while she was seeing Frank Sinatra, she was having an affair with Robert. In her words, "I was crazy about him." When she summoned the courage to tell Robert that she was also seeing Frank Sinatra, he ended things immediately. In her memoir, she detailed what he said: "Get into a fight with him and he won't stop until one of you is dead." Gardner said Robert didn't want to risk it being him, so he fled for his life. Frank Sinatra and Ava kept trying to make things work, but after a while they decided to end things. Their divorce was later finalized on the 5th of July, 1957. Ava went on to reveal more facts about her relationships, but her claims about what George Scott did to her were indeed shocking. George C. Scott did this to her behind closed doors. One of Ava Gardner's deathbed revelations was the truth about her brief relationship with George Scott. While the duo were dating back in the day, their fans admired them and people said they were a cute couple. However, there was nothing cute about what was happening between the couple behind closed doors. She claimed that George Scott had been abusive towards her while they were in a relationship. She went on to detail one of the fights they had and how dark it got. According to her, he got physically abusive when he was drunk. In one of their fights, she said Scott smashed bottles to make weapons. She was terrified of what he was going to do next, but again, he had abused her this way before. In her words, he was kneeling across me, waving the jagged edges of the glass in front of my face with one hand and hitting me with the other, telling me he loved me and smashing a fist into my eye. "Marry me, do you hear what I'm saying?" Followed by another blow. People were certainly shocked to find out that she endured all this, but of all the things she said in her memoir, she made it clear that she was aware that she made bad choices when it came to men. She also said that her friend warned her about some of the men that she dated, but she didn't listen. Lana Turner tried to warn her. All through her lifetime, some of her heartache came as a result of the men she chose to date. Perhaps if she listened to her best friend, things would have been different. Ava Gardner's best friend, Lana Turner, was also known to have attracted some of the most successful and influential men at the time. Interestingly, she was once romantically involved with some of the men that Ava Gardner was later involved with. She saw the different sides to these men, and she knew what they were capable of, so she didn't hesitate to advise Ava Gardner. When Ava Gardner told Lana about her decision to be with Frank Sinatra, Lana begged her not to go through with it. Interestingly, Lana had affairs with both Frank Sinatra and Shaw in the past, so she was well equipped to advise her friend. Recalling what her best friend told her, Ava Gardner wrote, "I've been there, honey," she told me. "Don't do it." I should have listened to her. The deed had already been done. She got into the relationships, learned her lessons, and lived to tell her story. The actress's life was truly one hell of a ride, but through it all, she tried to live life to the fullest. In the winter of 1973, a woman worked quietly as a cocktail waitress in a small New York City bar. Unnoticed by many, her presence was a far cry from the glamorous life she once led. This woman, known to the world as Veronica Lake, was once Hollywood's most captivating star, her signature peekaboo hairstyle a symbol of 1940s allure. Yet here she was, a forgotten icon serving drinks, her story lost in the echoes of her past glory. Veronica Lake's journey from Hollywood's golden screens to the dim corners of a bar is a tale wrapped in mystery and tragedy. It's a story that delves deep into the heart of fame's fleeting nature and the hidden struggles of those who live in its shadow. How did this screen siren, once the epitome of glamour, find herself in such a starkly different world? What series of events led to her dramatic fall from grace, and what can her story tell us about the price of fame? This is not just the story of a Hollywood starlet. It's a narrative that explores the darker side of celebrity and the often unseen battles faced by those in the limelight. The disturbing truth behind Veronica Lake's untimely demise is a journey through the highs and lows of stardom, a journey that reveals the fragile nature of success and the human cost of living under the constant gaze of the public eye. The Enigma of Veronica. Veronica Lake, born as Constance Frances Marie Ockelman, was an enigma from the very start. Her journey to stardom began in Brooklyn, New York, where she was born on November 14, 1922. The daughter of a seaman and an aspiring actress, Veronica's early life was marked by frequent moves and a growing fascination with the performing arts. This chapter delves into her formative years, exploring the roots of her enigmatic persona. From a young age, Veronica showed a natural flair for the dramatic. Her mother, who harbored her own theatrical ambitions, encouraged this passion. However, Veronica's childhood was not one of unbridled joy. The untimely death of her father in a tragic explosion on an oil ship cast a shadow over her early years. This loss would become one of the many hardships she faced, shaping her resilient yet complex character. Despite these early challenges, Veronica's determination to succeed in the entertainment industry never wavered. Her family's relocation to Miami, Florida, became a turning point. Here, she attended Miami High School and began to seriously pursue acting. Her striking looks and natural talent quickly caught the attention of teachers and classmates alike. It was during these formative years that the foundation of her future stardom was laid. Veronica's journey to Hollywood began with a beauty pageant. After winning the title of Miss Miami, she caught the eye of a visiting talent scout. This chance encounter opened the door to a screen test with RKO Pictures, a major Hollywood studio at the time. The test was a success, and soon the young starlet found herself on the brink of a new life in the glittering world of Hollywood. Upon arriving in Hollywood, Veronica faced the daunting task of carving out a place for herself in an industry known for its competitiveness and glamour. She started with minor roles, gradually making her mark. Her unique look, characterized by her blonde hair falling seductively over one eye, became her trademark. This peekaboo hairstyle not only set her apart but also captured the imagination of the public. It was a look that would become synonymous with Veronica Lake, and one that played a significant role in her rise to fame. However, Veronica's path to stardom was not without its hurdles. The early years in Hollywood tested her resolve, with challenges ranging from typecasting to the high demands of studio life. Yet, her perseverance and undeniable talent shone through. She soon landed roles that showcased her range as an actress, moving beyond the stereotypical blonde bombshell image. Living through Hollywood illusions. The glitz and glamour of Hollywood in the 1940s was a world of stark contrasts, and Veronica Lake was at its epicenter. Her rise to fame coincided with a tumultuous era in Hollywood, marked by the glimmer of silver screens and the shadows of a world at war. This period in Veronica's life was a whirlwind of success and struggle as she navigated the complex landscape of fame. Veronica's breakthrough role came in the 1941 film I Wanted Wings. Her performance, coupled with her distinctive hairstyle, captivated audiences and critics alike. This role catapulted her to stardom, establishing her as a major box office draw. Her on-screen persona, often portraying strong, independent women, resonated with the public. Veronica became an icon of the era, her image gracing magazine covers and movie posters. However, the reality of life in Hollywood was far from the perfection portrayed on screen. Veronica's rapid ascent brought with it immense pressure. The film industry, with its demanding schedules and public scrutiny, began to take a toll on her. She was constantly under the watchful eye of the studio, which meticulously managed her image and career. This control extended to her personal life, with studio executives often dictating her choices. Despite these challenges, Veronica continued to deliver memorable performances. Her roles in films like Sullivan's Travels and The Glass Key showcased her versatility as an actress. She became known for her ability to bring depth and nuance to her characters, a talent that set her apart in an industry often criticized for its superficiality. Yet, behind the scenes, Veronica was struggling. The constant pressure to maintain her image and the relentless pace of work began to affect her health and well-being. She started to develop a reputation for being difficult on set, a label that would haunt her career. The industry's harsh spotlight amplified her personal issues, making them fodder for the gossip columns. This period of Veronica's life was a paradoxical mix of professional triumphs and personal challenges. Her experiences in Hollywood during these years were reflective of the broader realities of the film industry. It was a world where illusion and reality were often indistinguishable, and where the price of fame could be steep. As Veronica's career progressed, the cracks in the facade began to show. The strain of living up to Hollywood's expectations was becoming increasingly evident. Her story at this point is a cautionary tale of the pitfalls of fame, a reminder of the human cost behind the glittering images of the silver screen. Glamour's dark side. As Veronica Lake's star continued to rise in Hollywood, the darker aspects of fame began to cast a long shadow over her life. The early 1940s saw her at the peak of her career, yet beneath the surface a storm was brewing. The pressures of stardom, combined with personal challenges, led to a tumultuous phase in Veronica's life, marked by struggles that were largely hidden from the public eye. Veronica's image as a glamorous Hollywood icon was in stark contrast to her growing personal turmoil. Her marriage to art director John S. Detley was falling apart, leading to a divorce in 1943. This personal setback was compounded by the stress of her career, the relentless pace of filming, public appearances, and the demands of being constantly in the spotlight began to take a toll on her mental and physical health. During this time, Veronica's behavior on set became increasingly erratic. Reports of lateness, unpreparedness, and conflicts with directors and co-stars started to emerge. These incidents were often downplayed by the studio's publicity machine, but they signaled deeper issues. Veronica was struggling with alcoholism, a battle that would become a defining struggle in her life. The contrast between Veronica's public persona and her private struggles was emblematic of the era's Hollywood culture. The industry often masked the personal difficulties of its stars, presenting a facade of perfection to the public. For Veronica, this meant that while her films were celebrated, her personal challenges were largely ignored or hidden, exacerbating her sense of isolation. Her roles during this period, such as in This Gun for Hire and The Blue Dahlia, continued to cement her status as a leading lady. However, the strain was evident. The glamour of her on-screen appearances belied the reality of her off-screen life, where she was grappling with a crumbling personal world and an industry that was both the source of her fame and the catalyst for her decline. An icon's decline. In the midst of personal turmoil and a demanding career, Veronica Lake took on a role that diverged from her typical screen persona, contributing to the World War II effort in a unique way. The early 1940s were not only a time of personal struggle for Veronica, but also a period when the world was engulfed in war. Her involvement in the war effort marked a significant shift in her public image and brought to light a different aspect of her character. Veronica's iconic peekaboo hairstyle, while a symbol of glamour, posed an unexpected problem during the war. Women working in factories for the war effort emulated her style, which led to accidents when their hair got caught in machinery. In response, Veronica changed her hairstyle in a widely publicized event, promoting safety for women in the workforce. This act, though seemingly small, was a significant gesture that demonstrated her willingness to support the war effort and adapt her image for a greater cause. Beyond changing her hairstyle, Veronica also participated actively in war bond drives, using her star power to help raise funds for the war. She toured the United States, appearing at events and rallies, encouraging Americans to contribute to the cause. These activities showed a different side of Veronica, one that was engaged with the world beyond Hollywood and willing to use her fame for a meaningful purpose. However, the shift in her public activities did little to alleviate her personal struggles. The war years were a time of contradiction for Veronica. While she was publicly contributing to a significant global cause, privately, she continued to battle her personal demons. Her fight with alcoholism persisted, and her reputation in Hollywood began to suffer as a result of her off-screen behavior. This period in Veronica's life represents a complex interplay between her public image and private struggles. Her involvement in the war effort showcased her as more than just a film star, highlighting her awareness and responsiveness to the world around her. Yet, the contrast between her public contributions and personal challenges paints a picture of a woman caught between the demands of fame and the realities of her own life. Limelight Hidden Battles. As World War II drew to a close, Veronica Lake found herself navigating an increasingly challenging landscape in Hollywood. The post-war era brought changes to the film industry and to societal attitudes, which in turn affected Veronica's career. Her once celebrated image began to lose its luster, and she faced a series of professional setbacks that mirrored her personal struggles. The late 1940s marked a turning point in Veronica's career. The roles that once made her a household name were becoming scarce. The changing tastes of the post-war audience, coupled with Veronica's growing reputation for being difficult to work with, led to a decline in the quality and quantity of her film roles. She was no longer the top-billed star she had been during the war years, and this shift in her professional life was a source of frustration and disappointment for her. Veronica's personal life continued to be tumultuous during this time. Her second marriage to director André de Toth was fraught with difficulties. The couple had 2 children together, but their relationship was marked by instability and conflict. This personal unrest further impacted Veronica's ability to maintain her career in Hollywood. The film industry itself was undergoing significant changes in the late 1940s. The end of the studio system, the rise of television, and the shifting dynamics of American society all played a role in reshaping Hollywood. For stars like Veronica, who had risen to fame under the old system, adapting to these changes was challenging. The roles she was offered were increasingly limited, and her star power was waning. During this period, Veronica made a few notable film appearances, such as in The Blue Dahlia, 1946, but these were exceptions in a career that was clearly in decline. The contrast between her earlier success and her later struggles was stark, and it reflected the broader changes happening in Hollywood and American society. This phase of Veronica's life and career highlights the transient nature of fame and the challenges faced by actors in adapting to a changing industry. Her decline in Hollywood was not just a result of her personal issues, but also a reflection of the evolving landscape of the film industry in the post-war era. Fame's heavy toll. As the 1950s dawned, Veronica Lake's presence in Hollywood had significantly diminished. This period marked a departure from her life as a celebrated film star, leading her into a phase of relative obscurity. The shift away from the limelight was both a consequence of her dwindling career and a choice influenced by her personal circumstances. During this time, Veronica's public appearances became rare, and she took on fewer acting roles. The few roles she did accept were in smaller, less prominent productions, a far cry from the high-profile films of her heyday. This retreat from the spotlight was partly due to the limited opportunities available to her in Hollywood, but it also reflected a change in her personal priorities. Veronica's marriage to André de Toth ended in divorce in 1952, adding another layer of upheaval to her life. The end of her second marriage was a significant personal blow and contributed to her decision to step back from the Hollywood scene. She sought a quieter life, away from the scrutiny and pressures of the film industry. This period was also marked by financial difficulties for Veronica. The wealth and comfort she had enjoyed at the height of her career were no longer assured. She faced a series of financial setbacks, which further distanced her from the glamorous world she once inhabited. Despite these challenges, Veronica attempted to make a comeback in the late 1950s and early 1960s. She appeared in a few films and stage productions, but these efforts failed to reignite her career. The industry had moved on, and Veronica struggled to find a place in the new Hollywood landscape. The 1950s and early 1960s were a time of reflection and reevaluation for Veronica. Away from the glare of Hollywood, she lived a life that was markedly different from her years as a film icon. This phase of her life was a stark contrast to the fame and adulation she had once experienced, illustrating the fleeting nature of celebrity and the challenges faced by stars in maintaining their place in the ever-changing world of entertainment. The later years. In the later years of her life, Veronica Lake attempted a return to the public eye, seeking to recapture some of the fame she had enjoyed in her earlier years. This period was marked by a mix of nostalgia for her past glories and the harsh realities of her present circumstances. In the 1960s, Veronica made sporadic attempts to revive her acting career. She appeared in a few small film and television roles, but these were far from the significant parts she had once played. The industry that had once celebrated her now seemed indifferent, and her attempts at a comeback met with limited success. Despite the challenges, Veronica's return to the public eye did reignite interest in her earlier work. There was a renewed appreciation for her contributions to the film noir genre, and she gained a new audience among those who were discovering her films for the first time. This resurgence of interest provided a bittersweet reminder of her former status as a Hollywood icon. However, Veronica's personal life continued to be fraught with difficulties. She struggled with ongoing health issues, including her battle with alcoholism, which had plagued her for much of her adult life. These struggles were compounded by financial problems, as the wealth she had accumulated during her peak years had long since diminished. In 1966, Veronica published her autobiography, Veronica, the autobiography of Veronica Lake, which offered a candid look at her life and career. The book was an attempt to tell her story in her own words, addressing both her successes and her struggles. It provided a glimpse into the life of a woman who had experienced the highs and lows of fame in a rapidly changing industry. Veronica's later years were a time of reflection and occasional resurgence in the public consciousness. While she never regained the level of fame she had enjoyed in the 1940s, her efforts to return to acting and her candid autobiography helped to cement her legacy as a significant figure in Hollywood history. Her story, with its triumphs and tribulations, remains a poignant example of the ephemeral nature of fame and the enduring impact of the golden age of Hollywood. Veronica Lake's last days. The final chapter of Veronica Lake's life was marked by a quiet and unassuming existence, far removed from the glitz and glamour of her Hollywood heyday. Her last days were spent in relative obscurity, a stark contrast to the fame and adulation she once enjoyed. In the early 1970s, Veronica lived a modest life, having moved away from the Hollywood scene. She resided in various parts of the United States, including a period in the UK, where she sought a fresh start away from the memories and challenges of her past. Despite her efforts to reinvent herself, she continued to face personal and financial difficulties. Veronica's health, which had been compromised by years of alcohol abuse and mental health struggles, continued to decline. She was known to have had several hospitalizations during this period, and her once radiant appearance had faded, a physical manifestation of her internal battles. In 1973, Veronica made a brief return to the public eye with a role in the horror film Flesh Feast. This low-budget production was a far cry from the high-quality noir films that had made her famous. It was her last film appearance and did little to revive her career. Veronica's final years were spent away from the limelight, in a world very different from the one she had once dominated. She worked various jobs, including waitressing, a humbling turn for someone who had once been a major movie star. These jobs were a means of survival, as she had little financial support and no significant income from her acting career. Veronica Lake passed away on July 7, 1973, at the age of 50. Her death was attributed to acute hepatitis and acute kidney injury, conditions exacerbated by her long-standing alcoholism. The news of her passing was met with a mixture of sadness and nostalgia, as the public and the film industry remembered the star she once was. The story of Veronica Lake's final years is a poignant reminder of the transient nature of fame and the personal costs that often accompany a life in the spotlight. Her journey from Hollywood icon to a life of relative anonymity illustrates the unpredictable trajectory of a career in the entertainment industry and the enduring human struggles behind the facade of celebrity.